The underground structure of the Board of Education.
Everybody's been talking about school and education. Well, in etymology, the word education comes from the word educere, which means to bring out of you what's in you. Schools don't do that. Schools give you something and you regurgitate it back, and that's how you get an A. This is called the 1902 Board of Education Act, okay? The endowment was given by John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie. They gave $30 billion. They actually owned the public school system, okay? And I'm gonna read to you what their mission was. It says, prior to the late 1800s, education was private practice that took place in private institutions or through home schooling. That all changed in 1902 when John D. Rockefeller created the General Education Board in conjunction with Frederick T. Gates. Now, who was Frederick T. Gates? Have you ever heard of Bill? That's Frederick T. Gates is his grandfather. So this is what Frederick T. Gates said. Let me skip. Albert Einstein said, never confuse education with intelligence. John D. Rockefeller said, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. So at the advent of the Industrial Revolution, okay, at its inception, they had to create workers.
Well, the Secret Service plans to fire DEA-hired agents, but an Obama-appointed judge rules it illegal. Trump then assigns them to protect Clinton, Obama, and Biden, who reject them and demand merit-based male agents. Goodness. Good morning, John. Remember when you were in the White House and you took your yellow notepads home with you every night? That's John Bolton over there on the right. Sure hope that was all unclassified. Kudos to Senator Roger Wicker for rightly saying that there was classified information in the Signal group chat. White House, take note. Nancy Pelosi staged January 6th. FBI Director Kash Patel has seized phone book, bank records for everyone on Pelosi's staff on January 6th. We believe there's proof that she set the whole thing up. If they can investigate Trump's finances, he can investigate every member of Congress to find out how they all became millionaires. Let's get that project going. Folks, what this is that we're talking about right now is something called the Cloward-Piven strategy, Cloward. Do some research on it. Cloward-Piven strategy is taught at Columbia University, where Obama went and a bunch of these other knuckleheads went as well. The whole idea with the Cloward-Piven strategy is to completely overwhelm the welfare structure that a society has, and in particular our country here. So bottom line is they want to bleed the country dry, throw the gold bars off the side of the Titanic. That's exactly what's happening. So the Cloward-Piven strategy is a strategy to take down sophisticated countries that have a care and have a heart for those people that are down on their luck and can't make it any longer. So those of us that are able to make it, we'll reach down with a hand and say, here, help yourself out a little bit, but only to you as citizens, not the world. We can't support the world. Appeals court halts judge's order requiring Musk to hand over Doge records. A federal appeals court has temporarily blocked a discovery order from U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan that would have required Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency to turn over documents and respond to written questions about their role in advising cuts in certain parts of the federal government. In a ruling issued on March 26, the U.S. Court of Appeals, or D.C., Circuit granted an emergency stay of Chutkan's March 12th order, which had largely granted limited expedited delivery to a coalition of 13 Democratic-led states, requiring Musk and Doge to produce documents and respond to questions within 21 days. The appeals court ruled that Musk and Doge had satisfied stringent requirements for a stay and showed that they are likely to prevail on their claim that the lower court must resolve their motion to dismiss before allowing discovery to proceed. In particular, petitioners have shown a likelihood of success on their argument that the district court was required to decide their motion to dismiss before allowing discovery. The three-panel judge wrote in a ruling. And Elon's dropping bombs tonight. Let's see.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the judges that have weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now of these cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the DC Circuit is notorious for having a very far left bias. And when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Well, certainly. What happened to Lady Justice? She's supposed to be blind. So much a blueprint for dismantling the Fed. So much for been writing about what we should be focusing on in the Federal Reserve and the recent public demand for an audit. The message has finally reached the masses. Hopefully, it's such an audit manifest. It will be the first step towards ultimately dismantling the Federal Reserve. We should start with the extremely shady bank term funding program, but very little has been written about how to end the Federal Reserve, and that's what I want to address here. How? You may read through my proposed plan and disagree with me on the details, but we must agree on the point. The key objective is to minimize any fluctuation in the current monetary supply as best we can. This can be done in a delicate manner that might go unnoticed by the market, outlined in 5 steps. Folks, there simply is not enough M2 money supply to cover all their demands for people trying to get their money out of the system. It's going to be the first 3%, less than 3% of the people that get out are going to be okay. So if you have your money in digital form, you better get it out and hold it in physical form. And if there's tax ramifications or something like that, please reach out to me. I'll help you with this. The IRS is going away. It's going to be the IRS. So we're going to focus on revenue coming out externally from the United States of America, not internally anymore. So Elon Musk was shocked on this one. Let's find out what he's shocked about.
What's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane. They attack Doge. They never attack any of the specifics. So they'll say what we're doing is somehow unconstitutional or illegal or whatever. We're like, well, which line of the cost savings do you disagree with? And they can't point to any. And we list them all on Doge.gov and the Doge handle on X. And you'll see just outrageous things, one outrageous thing after another.
I'm standing in front of the headquarters of a company that manages $10.6 trillion. That's more than half the United States GDP. BlackRock is the subject of a lot of speculation online.
There is a robot that controls more wealth than any country on earth.
Really, the commander-in-chief is Larry Fink.
They have stock in 95% of Fortune 500 companies. Pretty much any time you interact with the economy, working, buying stuff, driving a car, going to the bank, anything, you're interacting with BlackRock. BlackRock is an asset manager, and the service they offer is taking a customer's money and making more money out of it. Their existence relies upon an important invention of the 70s, the index fund. Instead of betting a lot on a few individual companies, you bet a little bit on every company in the whole index, basically just the whole market itself. BlackRock is a 3 to 10% shareholder in all of these companies. This may not sound like a lot, but it's enough that selling all of it at once would likely crash that entire stock.
5% in any individual company is actually very significant because 5% makes you, in all likelihood, the single largest shareholder in that company.
And let's not forget, it's not BlackRock's money that's invested. It's your dad's pension fund and your insurer's massive pile of savings. Back in the day, like my grandparents' day, more regular people had stocks, and the idea was that every shareholder could vote on things like board elections, mergers and acquisitions, executive compensation, and once in a while, wages. Sort of like democracy for people with disposable income. In 1945, 94% of stocks were owned by households, but that's not really how it works anymore. Today, households have more like 40% of the stock market, and about half of that belongs to the top 10%. Today, the top 1% own 50% of corporate equity and mutual fund shares, while the top 10% own 86%. The tiny green part on the bottom is the least wealthy half of Americans.
You often hear this argument that what is good for shareholders is good for everyone because, especially in the US, where retirement assets are overwhelmingly invested in corporate equities, everyone is a shareholder. But that's simply not true. The fact that all 5 airlines, all the major banks, for example, in the US have the same large shareholders creates a danger and a risk that these corporations will not engage in competition in the same way they would if they each had different shareholders.
It goes even deeper than that. The biggest investors in BlackRock are Vanguard and State Street. And the biggest investors in Vanguard are BlackRock and State Street. And the biggest investors in State Street are, you guessed it, BlackRock and Vanguard. So the financial sector effectively owns itself. The biggest companies that they own them back, creating this loop that sucks money in and never seems to spit it back out.
So the deal is this, folks. BlackRock owns your purchasing power if you're holding it digitally. And they're using the power of your purchasing power to affect all kinds of bad changes for the rest of us. What I suggest you do, please exit the system, get the coin of the realm. The dimes are the best deal that are out there, the most visible type of a coin that you can have right now. 14 dimes equals 1 pure troy ounce of silver. And this is more than likely your parents or grandparents bought diapers for you this way. These same dimes are going to be back in use doing the same thing as they had been doing throughout history. And what we want you to do, though, folks, is hold the coin of the realm. Get away from the fractional reserve bank and get away from the Keynesian system. They are taking advantage of your good nature of allowing them to hold your purchasing power. If you didn't hold if they weren't holding your purchasing power, guess what? They wouldn't be able to do this kind of stuff. Let's take the power back. Let's put it in the purse in your pocket. Possession's 9/10 of the law, right? And the other 1/10 is supposed to be the paperwork you're supposed to sign and you're supposed to develop for them to hold it. But no, what you're doing is you're signing their paperwork. The good doctor is holding your wealth. Why aren't you holding your own? Folks, please reach out to me. Let's talk about beneficiary designations, talk about who owns what. The power of the purse needs to be in your own hand.